Hey, it's Shawn from Lotus and Lettuce. Today's my turn on the feed. Our Facebook feed for the studio. If we haven't met before, I'm the Hatha, the 9:30 Hatha teacher and the noon energy boost teacher. Hatha is a passion of mine. My personal practice has moved deeper and deeper towards a Hatha, almost an Iyengar style. And my teaching passion is also in Hatha. Taking the complications of moving with breath and moving through flow and just being able to work on individual poses, working on alignment and breathing in poses, proper practices, being able to work people of all different body types into poses. And I find there's a lot more room for that in Hatha. So, each day that I teach Hatha has a theme. Tuesdays in the studio is warrior. I'm going to work on some warrior poses today. So let's get started. When I was working in Tadasana in the last tutorial, so standing in Samasthiti, and then drawing energy up from Samasthiti, from those roots, and lifting the body by floating, not by clenching, not by muscling up, not by gripping, not by hypertension, but simply using the skin to stretch over the bones and pull the fascia tight. So there's no squeezing in the bum, there's no squeezing in the vertebrae, you're not crushing the vertebrae together. You're freeing up space, lifting the ribs north without popping them forward, lifting the heart, lifting through the crown. The deep roots, the deep tether through the soles of the feet, through Samasthiti, which is your big toe mound, little toe mound, and heel. The toes light, with daylight between each toe and lifted. And then as you rise up, you're in Tadasana, your mountain pose, or Samasthiti, rising to mountain pose with your hands in Anjali Mudra. So, if we carve the body up into quadrants, if we took a plane across the middle section with the south hemisphere and the north hemisphere up and down, if we took another plane and bisected us through the sternum so that we had east to west, side to side, if we took another plane and ran it up the middle of the body so we had dorsal, back and front, and then we thought of each individual quadrant through all those planes, they're all still in Tadasana, in Samasthiti, these are all still. You're not clenching any muscles, you're floating, you're free to rise up like you're connected to a hot air balloon, tethered deep into the earth through Samasthiti. And if we move our arms, if we extend and reach, we're still not using muscles, we're still not clenching, we're floating, but everything remains soft, bright, and alert. There's no effort. There's no squeezing muscles. The bum is soft, the back is soft, and we just reach and float. So if we just thought of the hemisphere above the waist, and we weren't worried about the feet, regardless of what the feet did, regardless of what the legs did, if we kept everything the same above, and regardless of where those legs went, this all remained the same. Then we start to get into what the purpose of the pose is. So, if I'm doing a warrior pose, do I need my arms clenched? Do I need my jaw clenched? Do I need hypertension? No. If I'm only working into a lunge, and this is where I'm directing my energy and my strength, and I keep everything else floating, and tender, and sattvic, and regardless of what happened with those legs, I kept these quadrants still, without tension, without strength, and floating. And I remove all that wasted energy and focus it where it needs to be. How much easier the pose is. If every muscle in the body is clenched, how sustainable is the pose? You'd be done in a minute. But if you root into the earth, if you keep that balance in the feet, and you float the body, if you release the tension where you don't require it, then all our yoga is going to be sattvic, and we're going to be able to sustain poses for longer than we expected. Our strength will last longer. So, warrior poses. I suppose everyone's familiar with the warrior 1, the warrior 2, and the warrior 3. So they're not, even though they're all warrior poses, they're not directly linked in every case. So if I was going to do warrior 1, moving into that lunge, but my hips, my collar, my third eye, my chin, my nose, everything would be facing the front of the mat. And again, everything above the femurs is going to float. The weight, the energy, the strength is in just holding the bones still in the lunge. So from warrior 1, what would that translate into? Translate easily into warrior 3. Hips, collar, chin, nose, everything still facing the front of the mat. When you tip forward, same alignment as when you started here. Warrior 2, different animal. Everything's going to face the side of the mat. Collar, pelvis, nose, third eye, all face the side of the mat. When you find the structure of the pose, you're going to turn the chin. Only the collar is going to stay where it is. You find your drishti at the front of the mat, but everything still remains facing this way. So we could take that into Trikonasana and half move. So let's work through all three of them individually. Starting at the top of the mat. Finding Samasthiti. Finding that grounding, that floating feeling rising up to Tadasana, bringing the arms, gathering the skin, pulling the skin tight, stretching it over the bones. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Stepping into the right foot, bending the left knee, lifting the heel, balancing on the balls of the left foot. Grip deep into the triangle, and the right foot lifting through the crown. And then without throwing yourself off balance, dorsiflex, lift the foot only. Find stability, then you can bring the knee up, keeping the collar over the hips, lifting through the crown. And striding back. Nice long stride. Now the feet are train tracked. We're going to set up in warrior 1 first. So if they were hip distance here, they'd be hip distance in the stride. So taking them further wider on the mat. Allowing the pelvis and collar to face the front of the room. Relax the pelvis. Now that back foot, you decide. It can be on an angle or it can be parallel to the back of the mat. You're going to find big toe mound, little toe mound, and heel of both feet. Press down into those triangles, and stretching the skin behind the knees, keeping the kneecap soft. Finding space, the distance between the feet, north to south, that you will be able to find a long lunge when you move. So keep the kneecap soft, keep the skin stretched, pelvis and collar face the front of the room. Push deep into that back foot, stretch the skin behind the knee, keep the kneecap light. Pull into the balls of the front foot, make the heel light, and draw that shin forward. Start to drop the tail and bring the shin forward. Keep pressing into that back foot. Find all 3 points in that back foot. Stretch the skin behind the knee. Bring the tail down. So the pelvis is soft. We're still floating. And if that knee internally rotates, if it starts to collapse inside, come out of the big toe mound with that front foot, move into the little toe mound, see if that draws the shin straight up and down. A little extra pressure in the balls of the feet, bring the shin forward a little more. If the shin is straight up and down, you can come past the heel, even past the ankle. Move into that lunge. Now release everything from the top of the femurs up, floats. And if you float the arms, there's no strength. You're just resisting gravity. If you bring the hands above, warrior one. If we were to move into warrior two, mindful that you were just facing the front of the room with the pelvis. Now it's going to be a completely different alignment in the second pose. Standing in Tadasana, rising up from Samasthiti. Release the tension, release the strength, float up. Now bring the arms, rise, gather the skin, pull, lift. Exhale, float the hands to heart center. Step into that right foot, bend the left knee, lift the heel. When you find stability, dorsiflex, lift the foot only, find your balance. When you find stillness, gently lift the knee into place. Keep the hips balanced over the heel, keep the collar over the hips, bend the knee to 90 degrees. Now stride back longer than you expect. This time now the heels are going to intersect. Again, the back foot, you play with what works best for you. Parallel or pointed slightly to the front of the room, never pointed to the back of the room. And then find that connection. The outer edge of the foot, little toe mound, big toe mound, heel. Same in the front foot, big toe mound, little toe mound, heel. Grip down, lift the toes, make them light, let them dance. Stay light between each one. Now the pelvis, collar, chin, nose, third eye, face the side of the mat. And we float. Everything above the femurs is light. There's no energy wasted above the waist. Push deep into the feet. Now root into that back foot. Stretch the skin behind the knee. Take the weight out of the front heel. Use the balls of the feet to pull the shin forward. Bring the tail down. Root deep into that back foot. Stretch the skin behind the knee. Keep the kneecap soft. Drawing in towards 90-degree angle at the front. Again, if that knee starts to collapse or internally rotate, move deeper into the little toe mound. See if that brings the shin in balance. If the shin is straight up and down, you can move through the ankle, over the shoelaces, maybe even over the toes. The pelvis is released. If it's engaged and clenched, you're going to wind up facing the front of the mat. Relax. Relax. Find the lunge. Now with no tension in the lumbar, no tension in the pelvis, and float the arms to shoulder height. Daylight between each finger. And feel that vibrant, bright, alert energy from one hand to the other through the fingertips. Drop the collar, float the arms. Face is soft. And then you can turn the chin only, not the collar, just the cervical spine. Connect the chin to that front shoulder, gaze out over that middle fingernail. Now you're floating in warrior. Notice if your warrior looks like this, pull with that back hand, bring yourself over the tail. If you're leaning out like you're surfing, come back over the hips. Keep dropping deeper into the lunge, bringing the tail lower. Now, when you straighten that front leg, bring your hands to your hips. You're already in alignment to to lift that back hip. So bring the pelvis right up. See the pelvis shift. This leg stays as long as it was. This leg stays as long as it was. And your entire pelvis lifts and tilts. So the hip pointer and hip pointer start to line up over each other. Your spine stays long. The fascia along the ribs stay long. And if you reach forward with that front arm, and keep lifting the pelvis, notice the legs stay the same length. You're lean, the shadow is lean. That lean shadow comes out over that front leg. And as you reach forward, when you find yourself almost parallel to the earth, you can release. Hand to block, stacking the shoulders. Hand to a lower block, stacking the shoulders. Maybe one day no block at all. Stack the shoulders, keep the shadow lean, lift and tilt that pelvis some more. And then maybe you take wrist over wrist, gaze up to that thumb or down to your big toe, Trikonasana. When you come out, think about the pelvis, start to drop this hip pointer, lift this hip pointer, take the weight out of the back leg, float up to the top of the mat. Beautiful. So, all the poses that you want to line up in a class would likely be in that similar vein. So I probably wouldn't do Warrior 1 and then move you into Trikonasana. I probably wouldn't do Warrior 2 and then move you into Warrior 3. If you're aligned and engaged, with the hips facing one direction, it's probably better to keep that flow using those hips still aligned in that same direction. So you would go from triangle, maybe you'd go into half moon, noticing that the pelvis is still lined up in the same direction. Pelvis and collar never moved through all that. The last one we mentioned, or Warrior 3, is a balance pose, standing balance. So again, if you're in your Tadasana, all your quadrants are still. If you brought the arms up, interlaced press, found stillness again, all the quadrants are still. And so we take that pose. So again, notice if I was in Warrior 1 facing this way, and then I come out and I move into Warrior 3, I'm not moving from east to west. I'm staying facing the same direction, and simply moving a few of the quadrants. So here, coming in. Beautiful. So Warrior 1, 2, and 3. So everybody's different. Everybody has different strength levels. Everyone has different degenerative age, injury, trauma piling up in the body. So not everyone's going to look the same in those poses. So first of all, where would you feel injury, like serious pain? If you were trying to move around the mat with the bum clenched and with the vertebrae crushed and the ribs popped, this isn't very sustainable. So if you moved into Warrior 1, and then clenched the pelvis, squeeze the butt cheeks together. You're going to throw the hips out of alignment. You're going to crush the vertebrae. Now you're trying to work against all of this tension. You're trying to use all of your strength to somehow bring your alignment back. Working against all the strength you've wasted down here. Now you're going to start to feel injury. You're moving out of range of motion. And when you come out of this is what you're going to look like. Where else would you feel pain? If you're hyperextending, if you're sucking the kneecap back into the meniscus, if you're tearing at that meniscus by hyperextending, you want the kneecap to be soft. You want to feel the skin stretch on the back of the knee, but not hyperextending the knee, creating space, lifting through that joint so the kneecap's soft, but you feel the skin tight on the back of the knee, the hamstrings long. If you're in a pose, and your lunge looks like this, or this, really not a lunge. You haven't had a long enough stride to get that shin forward. But once that stride is long, if coming out of it you feel like this, you've probably found the outside range of your movement. So you need to find safely the limit. And if that limit causes that knee to buckle and that heel to lift to get the front shin forward, well, we always have blocks and props for that. If you need to start on that block, heel pressed down, big toe, little toe still pressed into the earth. Now, there's no buckle, the knee is soft, the skin is stretched. Now I'm in a lunge. No pain. Without that block, it probably looks like this, lots of pain. So you know your body. If you feel that hip buckle, if you feel that knee buckle, if you feel the outer edge of that foot peel off the mat, try it on a block. So that was just a quick tutorial on Warrior 1, 2, and 3. That's my Tuesday series, weekly at 9:30. I'd love to see you in class if I haven't seen you before, and if you're a regular, I'd love to have you back when we get through all this madness. Shawn from Lotus and Lettuce, thanks for watching.